Hello everyone, I'm Dante, this is Lomana, and today we're going to be taking you through the lore and Easter eggs of the Horizon Lunar Colony, the place where everyone's favourite scientist grew up. The story of the Horizon Lunar Colony is closely tied to the origins of Winston, and an example of the peak of the Golden Age, created by Lucian Interstellar at the height of their scientific advancement and space exploration, and home to a host of genetic experiments, primarily gorillas, the most well known of which would later become a member of the Overwatch strike team, Winston, named after the doctor who took care of him and acted as his father figure. Seeing the potential in a young Winston, the doctor took the infant gorilla under his wing, encouraging his curiosity and instilling his desire to become a scientist. Now that the Horizon Lunar Colony has been opened up to us, we can finally see where we first saw baby Winston, within his bedroom of the station gazing at the stars. We even get a voice line if someone that isn't Winston enters. However, not all the subject were as content with the confines of the Horizon Lunar Colony. The subjects broke free and attacked the base and the scientists within. The fate of these scientists, including Dr. Winston, remains unknown. But from the state of the broken cells and damaged cafeteria we both see within the map and within the CCTV, it does not look good for them. But who's to say what happened in all these years since? Communication was lost shortly after the incident. Winston was able to make his escape back to Earth, and eventually into the arms of Overwatch, where he thrived, becoming one of the greatest scientific minds the world had to offer. The famous observatory where we saw a proud Dr. Winston show a baby Winston his first true view of the world, opening his mind to the wonders and possibilities of both science and the people of Earth. It also holds many Easter eggs. The most apparent are the array of voice lines, one for each character as they peer through the telescope itself, giving us a small glimpse at their personalities. However, the map itself provides us with some answers and raises a whole new heap of questions. First off, what it confirms almost completely is where exactly Winston landed, or at least intended to land, Watchpoint Gibraltar. Considering this is where he currently resides, it seems likely that he made it, and spent some time here growing up and continuing his studies. Even if we do know later in life he would go on to join Overwatch, and work at the headquarters in Switzerland. We also see awesome alternative locations he could have landed. These could be hints at other Watchpoint locations or other Overwatch facilities. The node to the left appears to be Lisbon, Portugal, an area we know essentially nothing about in the timeline. How it reacted and combated the Omnic crisis to its purpose during the Golden Age and its current status are entirely unknown. If there is a Watchpoint located here, what is it for? Most tend to specialise in a particular field, such as environmental and weather research of Eco Point Antarctica. The other bottom node appears to be Algeria and, as far as we can tell, somewhere in the area of Oran. Much like Portugal, this opens up more questions. What is special about this location? Why would Winston want to be here, and what other secrets and lore are there to uncover? The final node is off to the right, is located in Spain and is somewhere in the region of Lleida, with the same question hanging over it. These new locations do have our interest piqued though. Could we expect one of these to be a future map? Perhaps something new in the lore we haven't even heard of or considered before. Perhaps the location of some new heroes, so many possibilities. But I think it will be a long time until we learn any more, assuming we ever do. It's always possible these are just random locations. But considering how much Blizzard like to hint and tease their content, that doesn't seem likely. Lastly, with the map, there are two other locations that, although not directly highlighted, something significant seems to have happened or is happening. Both Bordeaux, France, and what I think is somewhere about Murcia, Spain, have giant rings of light. And to be seen from space, even with a giant telescope, takes a lot of energy or to be incredibly large. So to generate that amount of light, it's possible these are giant cities. Who's to say how much growth in terms of city size could have happened? Although you would expect places like Madrid to receive this treatment as the capital of Spain. We do have a few other ideas, mostly Omnic related. Could these have been created by Omnics during the crisis? As staging grounds for the Omniums? We don't know exactly where all the Omniums were located, so it's very possible one of these could be associated with it. Are these actually impact sites, part of the fallout of the crisis, and the cities that once stood no longer exist, or perhaps something new and not as expected? There are many technologies we are yet to understand and even discover in Overwatch. We know whole cities can be constructed by light, as is the purpose of Vishkar. Is this a side effort of their construction and expansion into Europe? Outside of Winston, the map shows us a lot of hints to what happened as he escaped and communication was lost, along with lots of small insights into what day-to-day life could have been like. Even if we are yet to discover the fate of those left behind, it's only a matter of time. The maintenance room that acts as the defender's spawn room is relatively sparse, but does contain a few repairs such as this satellite. As we can see from the various monitors dotted around the station, these seem to be operated from the lunar colony itself, acting as telecommunication arrays. Seeing as contact was lost to the station, it seems likely that either the satellites themselves were damaged or the station's ability to contact them was disrupted. Starting in maintenance, but also scattered throughout the general area and even outside, are lunar rovers. Actually, a surprisingly large amount considering how few personnel are stationed on board the facility. Perhaps there are far more stationed on Horizon outside of the scientists, which considering the size of it would make some sense. Or perhaps they are for visits from other astronauts that arrive on supply missions, or as a stopping off point for other space exploration missions. Makes you wonder how much progress had really been made. Setting up a base on the moon is no easy task, and the possibilities it opens up as a leaping point are something we've not even discussed in the Overwatch universe just yet. New planets eventually? We can always hope. Moving on from here, one of the largest areas this side of the map is the hydroponics lab, that also has several shoot-offs in other areas. The main lab itself contains a large room full of trees and other plants. Unfortunately, we can only peek at them through this large frosted window. There are, however, large amounts of plant storage units around the base, housing flowers and other plants. These various rooms act as research stations for multiple experiments, in addition to forming necessities for the base such as food and oxygen. We can even see how well the oxygen farm is performing on the panels located around the area. Considering that Horizon is famous for its genetic engineering, much of which does take place in the agricultural world, it wouldn't be much of a stretch to think this applies to the hydroponics lab as well. If they increase the intelligence of gorillas, what advancements could they have made with plants stationed here? There are also some unique workstations located in this zone, related to the teaser we had shortly before the map hit the PTR. Emails from the doctors, highlighting issues with a subject named Simon. It could be worth keeping an eye on these, if they change or hint to other releases as Blizzard have been known to do, with the sombre ARGs and the newspapers that litter many maps. From here we start to move into the first point of the map, which comes in the form of a training area. Climbing walls from floor to ceiling, nets, ropes and a ladder, everything a young gorilla needs to keep himself active. Winston even incorporated some of this into Watchpoint Gibraltar where he currently lives, with his swinging tyre hanging in the centre of the room alongside the drop pod he landed in. From here the facility really widens up. The next large room leads off into multiple directions, and in the centre seems to be some form of play or breakout area, with toys of various kinds and computers that seem to be teaching spatial awareness. We can even see some pictures drawn by the specimens of the world and the moon orbiting it. The second defender spawn located next to this area and the training area house something rather unique, in a display style we've seen on another Lusheng interstellar map, Lijiang Tower. Spacesuits for all scientists located on Horizon that seem to be kept for practical use rather than suits we've seen before. The most notable reference leading us to the missing suit of Dr. Winston. It seems unlikely our Winston would have taken it, it's far too large for him, but he could have conceivably used the tech within it. So where is Dr. Winston? Has he survived but outside the Horizon colony? There are plenty of lunar rovers he could have used, but where would he have gone? As far as we've been aware, there's been no contact with him since the incident on the base, and Winston still has his glasses. Perhaps he made it back to Earth in the escape pod, and we're yet to hear of what happened next. This is something we would really like followed up, and it's a large part of what makes Winston who he is, and those glasses are iconic to his character at this point. If we carry along the outer wall, we come to stairs up to a room, with more monitors and workstations with a new kind of door for an Overwatch map, an airlock. Here we get to feel the low gravity of the moon take effect, as well as having a great view of the full station structure, seeing it from a full circle and the rocky terrain spread out into the distance, with yet more lunar rovers acting as external transports. Heading back inside to the main room and across from the airlock is a small but unique room. A classroom with nifty hovering chairs for gorillas and potentially other primate students, along with more of the personal computers and drawing boards. Who exactly acted as the teacher for them, assuming it was a select few and not all scientists stationed here. From here and on our way towards the attacker spawn with the observatory, we have lots of side rooms, appearing to be rooms for the scientists to relax and look out across the moon's surface. And to the other side, the trash canteen we witness within the CCTV footage, the room raided and smashed as the subjects lashed out. The final series of rooms are all linked to the observatory, the upper section acting as a control center for it, most likely used to calibrate and document what can be sighted using the telescope, as well as having access to the communications satellite. essentially taking the role of the bridge if you were to think of it in Star Trek terms. Running off of here is a room with large screens, currently displaying footage from what seems certain to be various points in time throughout the colony's history, from the oldest screens on the left through to the most recent on the right. We can tie a number of the gorillas visible to their names via the numbers on their jumpsuits. The leftmost screen shows what appears to be gorillas at their youngest, though the one glaring up the screen definitely looks a lot more like a chimp than a gorilla. The one dangling upside down, however, bears the number 20, identifying her as Susan. The next screen along unfortunately has no discernible numbers visible, but it does show the subjects indulging in a spot of chaos, presumably stemming from around the time when they first started giving the scientists issues, as outlined in the various emails. To the right of the screen, the camera has captured the number 23, Hypatia, one of the troublemakers alongside Simon, dragging a lab coat. She looks fairly fully grown by this point, but what is she doing with a lab coat? With the next screen blank, the last most definitely has two fully grown gorillas on show. The one breaking the railings is either Dyson or Calvin. Impossible to tell exactly, but we can see the number 1 at the start of his number. The other is 26, namely Ellie. No sign of Winston or Hammond that we know of in any of these. With all of the gorillas having individual specimen tags, it begs the question, where did their names come from? Prior to the release of this map, we have always operated under the belief that Winston took on the name in honour of his fallen mentor. Indeed, it is still worded along those lines on the official site. Taking on the name of his beloved human caretaker, Winston built a makeshift rocket and escaped to Earth. But this shows he shared the name long before. As such, what do you guys think about the possibility that each gorilla was allowed to choose their own name when they became mentally advanced enough due to their genetic therapy? It would fit, and they'd have the perfect teachers to make it work. It could also explain the more esoteric choices like Hypatia, possibly inspired by the Greek astronomer or the lunar crater of the same name. And it would definitely explain why Winston choosing to take on the name of the man he most admired. Which brings us to one of the largest questions left hanging over the map. Who is Hammond and why is he missing? Will he become a new hero, or is he merely another significant subject that has gone missing? He's been described as something possibly smaller than Winston, so he could be something other than a gorilla, perhaps a chimp. We have little hard evidence of who this subject actually could be, and what role they took within the revolt from the other subjects. What we do know from the emails between the scientists is that Hammond was missing for at least a week, and the strange sounds can be heard through the ventilation. As a smaller primate, it could be possible that Hammond had been using the ventilation to travel through the station, and with genetic manipulation, there's no telling what they could be capable of. However, the last message from Dr. Winston gives us a clue. A situation arose, potentially the cause of the disruption across the base. And if we go back to the spacesuits we mentioned earlier, I think we can see where Hammond left the ventilation. The ceiling panels have been knocked down, and there's clearly a space for a smallish animal, even a person to fit, with the only suit missing belonging to Dr. Winston. But who took it? Hammond? Dr. Winston? Our Winston? We're still unsure of where the rabbit hole leads, whether we can expect a new playable character, or if this is just filling in some of the much needed backstory to Winston, but we would love to hear your thoughts. One final thought about that message from Dr. Winston to the other scientists. From what little we know of his character, the message seems oddly abrupt and tense, with no real explanation. Do we think it's possible that this was sent by someone else as a lure? Would certainly be an efficient way for the gorillas to get rid of their human keepers, and to ensure no errant communications back to the planet below. A chilling thought, but certainly possible. Thanks for watching this tour of the Horizon Lunar Colony. What are your thoughts on the lore of Horizon? Have you enjoyed it as a map? And what mysteries do you think we are yet to uncover? As ever, there's a link to our Discord in the description below that you can join. Don't forget to hit that like button if you like this episode, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that little bell for notifications for our latest content. Until next time, I've been Dante, thanks for watching.